When I was in high school, I read the book I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, written by Maya Angelou. It wasn't required reading, I just came upon it and read it, rather devoured it, because I was so taken by the story. It was the beginning, this book, of a series of books she would write over the years, chronicling the challenges she has faced as a black woman, the accomplishments, the experiences she's had along the way, and the grace that she also found on this journey. But you know what I always remember about this book was the dedication. She dedicated the book to her son. And in the dedication she writes this: "This book is dedicated to my son, Guy Johnson, and all the strong black birds of promise who defy the odds and the gods and sing their songs." The strong black birds of promise who defy the odds and the gods to sing their songs. On Monday, we listened to a voice from the 20th century. Tuesday, we listened to a voice from the 19th century. Today we go a little bit further back to the 16th century, and we listen to the voice of Martin de Porres, a voice that has a lot to say to us in our own time. Martin de Porres was born in 1579. His father was a Spanish nobleman. His mom was a freed black slave. Shortly after Martin was born, a year or two later, they had another child, a daughter, and it was at that point that the father left the family. And one of the reasons why Martin's father left was because when he looked at Martin, he saw that he had the features and the dark complexion of his mother. And so his mom was left to fend for herself in desperate poverty to raise her family alone. When Martin was 12 years old, his mother sent him to become a barber-surgeon apprentice. Yes, a barber-surgeon apprentice. I know that sounds odd in this day and age, but it was very common during the time of Martin de Porres. A person who had this profession was, yes, able to cut your hair, but they were also able to draw blood, which in that century was a way of believed to have healing abilities for people that were sick. He was also had the know-how and the ability to tend to wounds and at the same time to administer medicine. So this was the career path, if you will, that Martin de Porres was on. Martin de Porres was also a deeply, deeply religious person. And he really would like, he felt, to be a religious, in an order, to join a religious order. But he had two things against him. He was illegitimate, and he was black. So no order would take him. But he did approach the Dominicans at their priory, and he said to them, "Could I become one of your lay helpers?" And they allowed him to become the lay helper. As a lay helper, he cleaned the house. He did work around the kitchen. That's why often Martin de Porres is, in iconography is shown holding a broom, because he helped keep the place tidy and took care of the physical part of the house and provided in terms of the kitchen what was needed there. But he also worked in the infirmary because he had the experience. And so part of his time there was also taking care of the sick. This is how Martin de Porres worked for a number of years. He also prayed constantly, and was a very, again, religious and devout young man. So the reality is this, is that the Dominicans sort of looked at this guy, and they kept watching him over the years, and they said, you know what, there is no reason why he should not belong to the Dominican order. So what they did was they said that they dropped the stipulation that no black person may be received to the holy habit or profession of our order. They dropped that stipulation based on Martin's character, what they had seen in him, how they got to know him. And he was vested in the habit of the Dominican order, and he took his vows as a Dominican brother. He even became more devout and more desirous to be of service once he was admitted to the community. Martin de Porres would eventually become the Procurator, and in a religious house, the Procurator is the one who basically handles the money and handles also the buying of the things that are needed, taking care of all of the stuff that has to be done in a practical kind of sense. There was one point that the priory was in debt, and he went to the father who was in charge of the entire house, and he said to him, "I am a poor mulatto. Sell me. I am the property of the order, so sell me." They certainly didn't do it. But there was something about his own willingness to give even his own life for the sake of the building up of that community and furthering their witness as the brothers and the sisters of Jesus. As it turned out, however, that Martin really did become a formidable fundraiser, and he did a lot not only to help that priory continue to be a strong witness in the community, but he also did a lot to help the poor in terms of feeding them and clothing them and making sure that they got the education that they needed. He is famously friends with another Dominican saint, Saint Rose of Lima. On May 16th, 1962, Pope John XXIII canonized Martin de Porres as the first black saint of the Americas. Now, in the 16th century, there were no cameras, obviously. And you know that in the last few days I've continued to have a picture of the person I'm talking about here on the desk with me. Now, I went through the internet, plenty of pictures, artists' rendering of Martin de Porres, and I almost chose one. And then I came across the one that's here on my desk. There was a photographer, I don't know who this was, who decided that rather than use a painting of what they thought Martin de Porres would look like, to actually choose a model and have him stand there in a way that would depict who Martin actually was, almost so that we could see he's a real person, not only a painting. Now, Martin in this picture is shown as he is in other pictures. He is holding a broom that is a symbol of his service, his willingness to do what is needed to be helpful. But also at his feet are a dog, a cat, a bird, and very, very small down there, there is also a rat. These four creatures are usually seen at the feet of Martin de Porres in any iconography, any painting of him. There's also, you can't really see it that well in this picture, a bowl there. The idea that all four of them might eat out of the same bowl. Martin had a great, great love of people, but he also had a great love for all of creation and a great respect for animals. It's said that he loved a dog as much as he loved a rat. There was an equal love going on there. And in fact, they say that the way he got rid of the rats in the priory was he just simply asked them nicely if they would leave. And apparently they did leave. What would Martin say to us if he was here right now? I think he'd say a number of things. He might first applaud all of you who actually went to shelters and got animals and gave them their forever homes. That kind of respect for creation and the love of animals as part of God's creation. He'd probably applaud you and say, hey, thanks, good job for doing that. As a person who in his own time was an essential worker, both as a person in the household providing for the physical needs of the community and also as a person in the infirmary working in the medical profession, he would certainly have a great heart for the essential workers of our own time. And I believe that he would applaud us and be saying, good job that you have become more grateful toward the people that maybe in the past you took for granted. I think he would say to those who are in the medical profession, I understand. I understand how hard this has been, the toll it has taken on you physically, spiritually, and mentally. I think he would really say, I stand with you in all of this, and that in what you have done, you have shown God's presence in the most difficult of times. And I believe that Martin would look at all of us and he would say to us from his own experience that Black lives matter. Yes, he would believe that every human life is important, all of creation is important, but he would say to us that today Black Lives Matter. Martin knew how easy it was to fall into the trap that perhaps it's not my problem, I look the other way, I go on with my life, or even the motto, this is the way it's always been, what are you going to do? Martin, I believe, would have joined in the protests. I also believe that Martin, who was a deeply spiritual and prayerful man, would have been inviting us to spend a lot of time in prayer for those who have been victimized by racism, by those who have been persecuted in any way, by those who are hungry and poor and don't have the same chances that others do. And he would also want us to pray for those who have the ability to make a change and to lead us in a new direction. I think it's very easy to admire people like Martin de Porres, but he would not want us to admire him. He'd want us to think about what is some simple thing that you could do this day. What small gesture could you embrace that would be a step toward healing of our world, healing of our lives? Maybe for some of you it is writing your legislator, your congressman, the senator. It might be in your daily life listening more carefully to others. Maybe appreciating those who work as essential workers. Maybe it's also for us to see the dignity of our daily work. Vacuuming, emptying the dishwasher. There's dignity in that work. God is there as well. He might also challenge us to pray for change and pray for healing. But I keep coming back to this image of Martin de Porres, the peaceable kingdom that are all there, natural enemies actually, who are all there under his gaze, eating from the same bowl. How does that image challenge you? What would he say to you right now? Martin de Porres was one of the strong black birds of promise who defied the odds and the gods, and he sang his song. Today, he asks all of us to join our voices to his.